Hello, everybody. Welcome to Regina's Corner. Thank you so much for being here. I'm telling you right now, this very moment, I am very excited, but I always say that, right? Every time that Regina's Corner is on, I'm always excited because I know that all of you are going to be blessed as well as I'm blessed. So we have something very important that we need to let you know, let the community know, and to talk to families. My special guest today is Lenisha Williams, and she's going to be talking about a very important topic. Lenisha, thank you for being on Regina's Corner.
Thank you so much for having me.
What are we going to talk about today? What is your title?
Sure. So we're talking about social and emotional learning and why is it important to our children and our students?
Yes. Wow. Tell us more. What is social emotion?
Absolutely, absolutely. So social and emotional learning, it has become very huge in schools. Social and emotional learning is targeting our children's self-regulation, targeting self-awareness for our children, responsible decision-making, and relationship skills, as well as self-management. Mrs. Marks, this has become important because our children have endured quite a few things in the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So now social and emotional learning has become very prevalent in our school.
Right. So when you say, a lot of times I'm thinking about emotions of knowing how to behave.
So there's a huge spectrum of what this is. And so sometimes it is behaviors. I do have students who have emotional behaviors. But when we talk about behaviors, we have to recognize that behaviors are a sense of communication. Okay. And so a child that is displaying a behavior or a tantrum is actually communicating something or an emotion. Okay. Or dealing with something. And so what social and emotional learning and what I do is help children identify those emotions and how to navigate with self-regulation so they can be in a learning environment and thrive.
So what you're saying is if a student is in class and all of a sudden they just start screaming and hollering.
Right.
So we're talking about this child is expressing some type of emotion.
Absolutely. If you don't mind, Ms. Marks, is it possible for me to give you some statistics of what our children have endured? Sure. So over the last 2 years, if we just give a synopsis of over the last 2 years, our children have endured 2 years of a pandemic. Our children have endured being removed and excluded from their social peers, which will be school, because they were in quarantine. Okay. Our children have witnessed so many things on television, from a racial uprise to a political explosion, we may say, all in the time of a pandemic, right? So demographics change, economic, due to parents losing their jobs, these things change. We had families merging together, all these things. And let's not even talk about how they had to deal with personal situations where they have lost someone due to COVID. So all these things have snowballed together for them. And because we're all dealing with this, there has been a gap of tending to their emotional needs because we were just all trying to survive for 2 years. We were just trying to survive, And when that happened, it was almost as if we pressed pause on our children's emotional needs because we were just trying to survive. Now, let's fast forward to now everyone's back in school. We're trying to get to this new normal because our old normal was abruptly stopped. So we're trying to adjust to this new normal, and you want children to be a part of, their peers and have that interaction, that social component, but they haven't had it in 2 years. They have talked to people on like what we're doing. So that has changed. So the statistics, I said that to say, the statistics, in 2020, a survey was done, and over 1,000 parents across the country from, I think it's Ann Robert H. Lurie Children's Hospital in Chicago. And 71% said that the pandemic had taken a toll on their children's mental health. 69% of those children parents said that the pandemic was one of the worst things their child has ever experienced. And mental health related emergencies, this one broke my heart. Mental health related emergencies in the hospital, in Children's Hospital, increased 24% for children's ages 5 to 11, 31% for children aged 12 to 17. So when I spoke to a doctor, they were saying that before the pandemic, 2 to 3 mental health emergencies for children will come in a month. They see 2 to 3 a day now. And so I say that to say, we then put them in a classroom, unregulated, unable to identify their emotions. And we think, or we expect them to excel. So this is why it's so important for us to have a social and emotional component, because not only do children, but teachers and adults have to figure out how to navigate these emotions. And when I say that they cannot communicate, it's communication, it's a way of saying that something's wrong, but I don't know how to articulate that I have anxiety, because I don't know what anxiety is at 5. So those are some things.
Well, I'm sitting here because I'm not going to pretend that I know about it. And what I'm thinking is that I've seen it, but didn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that anybody that's listening have seen it, but didn't know it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe someone else's family, maybe even in your own family. And this is why I wanted to not only be educated, but also that maybe someone is listening going, oh, wow, I recognize that, in my child or in my niece or in a family member. So what can we do?
Oh, that's a huge question. And I am praying daily that God order my steps to get a better understanding. One thing that as parents and as guardians or, just, grandmas, whatever you are in a child's life, is to advocate. And so what I mean by that is, if you see something that is unusual, that a behavior has changed, a behavior has increased. Once again, I want to reiterate, every behavior is a sense of communication. So if something has changed, recognize it, don't ignore it, and then advocate. What I mean by advocate, go to the doctor, take your child to the doctor, explain what is happening, document what is happening, the times that it's happening. Once you have that information to the doctor, then you can go to your school and talk to the special education director or department to see if it's possible for your child to be tested. And I don't, we have this stigma on special education, but I really want everyone to know that special education goes from high ability to autism and everything in between. And it is nothing wrong with setting your child up for success if that means having extra support with special education. So then when you reach out to special education, they can start the steps of testing and getting the school psychologists involved to get diagnosis, so we can put that student on a plan of success. And if that means meeting someone like me who helps supports the emotional situations that may happen and giving them the tools to say, I'm mad, but when I'm mad, that doesn't mean I throw a chair across the room. That means I take 10 deep breaths and I breathe, or I ask for a timeout, then why not do that? Why not do that for your child?
Well, I think this is my first interview that I'm speechless.
Really?
Yeah, because normally I'm throwing back dialogue, and to God be the glory, I've always been in a setting that you learn to do that. I'm sitting here and I'm speechless because this is very important that we as people, and as you said, family, as well as friends, that we learn to recognize this and let the child know it's safe. Because most of the time, they can feel like this is something terrible. As I'm listening to you, this is terrible. And then here comes the negative thoughts and negative feelings. And then also whoever is surrounding this child can also misunderstand it, that maybe they're just, they just cut up, they just act up. I don't know what's going on with them. And that hearing you talk, that it's important to recognize so that the child can begin to get on the right path to be able to possibly heal from this, understand that you don't have to do this. I feel this emotion. And so all I have to do is like aim it in the right way instead of, you know what I mean, throwing a chair, like you said, or an adult eating a whole bowl of ice cream, but to, help us all. But I said that as a joke, y'all, anybody listening, but I'm wrapping my mind around all of this, that early intervention is very important. But even if it happens late, to be able to recognize that something good can happen as far as learning how to get control over this emotion and what to do in the place of, choosing something more healthy, like you said, taking deep breaths. So I am, for the first time, I'm talking now, but usually I would have said something a long time ago. And I'm just
You,
seeing the importance of this emotion not controlling the child, but the child learns to
mhm.
control the emotion. And so also, let me say to our listening audience, parents, guardians, family members, friends, we must understand this and not add to the child's problem
Mm,
by
mhm,
saying negative things to the child or disciplining the child with the behavior that they don't know how to control. Because then we go to further hurt and pain on down the road and devastation for the child when actually the child needs help. Some people, of course, most of the time that I believe, um, going down the medical street, that it's easier for a child to be diagnosed with autism than it is with an emotional. I don't know if is a disorder or just emotional learning.
So it can be a disorder. We have some students who have a IEP, which is an individualized educational plan. Um, and in their individualized educational plan, it has emotional disorder. So it can be a disorder. It can come from trauma.
Yes.
Um, so we have to be trauma informed that Mrs. Marks, you wouldn't believe some of the stories that these young people have endured just within their home. So sometimes that could be put on their IEP as well due to trauma. So,
Mhm.
and honestly, the last 2 years, we've all experienced some type of trauma, be it
Yes.
vicariously,
Yes.
we've seen it,
Sure.
secondary, or, we just endured it individually in our family. So we
Yes.
all have had trauma. And
Right.
so, yes, so those are the ways that, it can be diagnosed. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thinking about what you said. That's true. Some people handle it in different ways. And I think even when I think you become adult, some people we can learn how to hide it. We can learn how to push it down as
oh
mom
gosh.
did, and we can play it off and dress it up. And children are just themselves. I
Right.
don't care if I'm in the middle of Walmart. I'm having some type of feeling right now, and I'm going to express it. So
Absolutely.
if a family member, friend, whoever
Hmm.
are noticing these things that we're talking about, what can they
Hmm.
do? What can they do? So now they think
Um,
they're listening to this and they're going, you know what? Johnny acts just like this. I wonder is there something going on? Or maybe they
so
remember an incident that happened and thought he's just cutting up, he just need to get over this. And now they're going, it's a little bit more deeper.
mhm, mhm. I think that's a great question. So some of the things that we have to pay attention, children have the tendency to have behaviors to escape, right? So there's
Mhm,
something they don't want to do.
mhm,
It may be work, math. You see that your child, when it comes to math, has a behavior explosion or does something,
mhm.
to escape from doing that certain thing.
Yes.
Well, we would usually, try to do something punitive to get them to do their work.
Mhm.
But in fact, it is the antecedent. So what we call the antecedent is something that triggers the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And if we keep a document of, okay, every time little Johnny is about to do his work, he falls out of his chair, he has to keep going to the bathroom, he gets really, really loud, he's doing these things when it's time to do work, you may need to look and see if, does Johnny need help? Can Johnny read the words? Does he need glasses?
Mm-hmm.
And here's the one that is very popular, Mrs. Marks, is Johnny hungry? Because hunger will cause a behavior. I have so many students that, I have to go and tend to them. And I share this with you. I always get on the floor with them and I'll lay next to them as they're having their moment. And then I'll say, hey, you hungry? Did you eat breakfast this morning? No. Let's go eat breakfast. Let's go have some orange juice. They eat, that energy is put back in them, and then they have a good day. So you just have to pay attention. And this is the time that we have to pay attention to the antecedent. What is triggering? What is that first thing that triggers that behavior? What is happening? Is it bedtime? Is it bath time? And, if it's bath time, okay, why is this happening in bath time? Could it be that, Susie has eczema and every time she gets in the bath, it hurts, like you have to pay attention to these small little things to see why these behaviors are happening, because once again, they are communicating something with them.
Ooh. You made me think about coffee. I gotta have my coffee. Don't talk to me right now. I gotta have my coffee. No.
I hear that a lot too from the teachers.
Yeah. I'm just really thinking. So I'm messed up behind this because I'm thinking how many kids fall between the cracks. And because, like, again, I'm repeating myself, but it's worth repeating because you titled it wrong. You diagnosed it wrong as a family member. We have to take ownership of that to realize that this is very serious, because as they grow up, it can just get worse. And it was never, and that always concerns me. If something doesn't get diagnosed, it's like anything else, it will turn around and it was worse. And so once again, a family member finds out about it, they could take their child to the doctor and say, I think they may have an emotional disorder.
Yeah, or they're struggling with their emotions, or there may be something else. There's something else wrong. And another good nugget is just to ask the child, hey, what do you need? What do you need? And sometimes they'll say, I'm just having a really bad day. And you acknowledge that. I remember growing up, and I'm not taking away anything of my parents or anything of that nature, but I remember saying, like, I'm having a bad day. Oh, you too young to have a bad day. What you ain't paying no bills, and go to this whole dialogue.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
And it's like, well, in my small world of a 9-year-old, it was a bad day for me.
Yes.
And acknowledging that and respecting that moment of, and giving them space to share that. It was a bad day. I'm so sorry you had a bad day. Tell me about it.
Yes.
How can we fix that? Because then that allows them to release some of that instead of internalizing it and causing stress. Because now, like you said, we're not listening and we're dismissing and
everything's going so fast. And so, when a parent gets off from work or family member, they're picking their child up, and everything's just going fast. And so, we need to talk to our children more. If anything, my kids are all grown, as you know, so I get on their nerves because how you doing? What's going on? I saw your face expression. You okay? Do you need to talk? And not taking away my parents are deceased. Again, right. I was right there. You didn't have that dialogue. You didn't have that conversation. So what you're telling me is that we need to talk to our kids, and we need to realize that this is a 911. Everything must cease. You can take 5 minutes, and we've got to do that. Yep, you're tired, you come in, but it's part of it to make sure that everything's okay, because sometimes when a bomb goes off, we're like, I didn't know anything about it. So not being condescending to those of you that are listening, whether your parents, whether your friends, whether your auntie, uncle, whatever relationship, the kid, the neighbor next door, We need to slow down. The world is trying to make us go so fast that everything's going so fast. A lot of times we don't have time. Our head's spinning. Next thing you know, we're going to bed. We're back up doing it again. And we have to take time. It's like we have to take time for our well-being, our own sanity, our own mental health. We have to take time and take a few minutes to do homework with your child, to stimulate, to say, hey, how did things go? I had one of my grandchildren and don't worry. I know my grandkids are going to be watching this because they like to watch grandma's YouTube. Hey, my fans. So I won't name one of their names. But however, I was asking them, I won't even say if they're she or he, asking them, how was your day? It was terrible. I said, okay. While we were talking on the phone, why was it terrible? People at school get on my nerve. I said, so you're going to let them get on your nerve? And they got quiet. I talked to all of them, from the youngest on 4-year-old up to 22, whatever ages. And I said, so you're going to let them just, I said, because that's what they're doing. They just come and sit on your nerve and you just let them. And then I paused so that they could think. I said, so, you don't have to let them get on your nerves, right? You can go to school and have a good time. Because when someone gets on your nerve, then they're controlling you.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yes, grandma, thank you. I said, you walk on your nerve, okay? Okay, baby, grandma loves you. And so that didn't take an hour or something. And every situation may be different. And what I'm hearing from Lenisha, if we owe it to our families to be there to advocate for them. And don't think that it's something negative, that if the physician refers them to see a clinical psychologist or a counselor to help find the tools. That doesn't mean, lots of times, especially in the African-American family, we'll go, I'm not crazy. They're not crazy. They just need to behave. They need to be on a punishment. They need, to get a spanking, or they need this. As times have changed, and I'm not saying that we don't discipline, but if you have to recognize the difference, and that's why I was asking Lenisha to talk with us today, the difference of, I think something might be wrong. And to be able to notice that, and not to put Ichabod over that child's head. Like, we're going to get, we're going to get this together, and we're with you. What's going on, honey? I don't know. I just feel like screaming all the time. Okay, we're going to find out what's wrong.
Absolutely.
Love you, and we're going to help you, because now I feel Jesus on that, y'all. I was trying to say as natural as I could, but we need to show love. We have to love. We have to love. And when a child feels safe, a safe place, then they will talk. Lenisha has told me, not mentioning people's names. So if anybody's listening, she may have shared with me today. I just, like the story she just spoke, I just went and sat down, because sometimes I ask her, what do you do? And everything stopped when Lenisha sat down. And sitting down means I'm coming to your level.
Absolutely.
I'm on the same level you on, baby. And so, hey, I'm here for you. So we have to take that next step and come out of the box, because things have changed. Nothing wrong with what grandma has taught us, and auntie and mama and them.
Right.
It's also time to change and to come to a new level. Like Lenisha was saying, like you were saying, we've gone through a pandemic. We've gone through things, and people have lost families, and the world is getting crazy.
Absolutely.
Going insane. And we might know how to go out and eat our favorite food, but what does that child do? They're under a guardianship. As school is over, they got to go home. It's time to do homework. It's time to take a bath and get ready for the next day. And, if I need to vent, I'll call Lenisha and said, hey, I need to get something out. I'm older, so
Likewise.
I know how to do that, right? Yes. Yes. And you've called me. We've had prayer on the phone, and, talking and encouraging one another, and giving insight. But a child doesn't do that. Most of the children don't. I'm not saying you don't have those that do.
Right.
But there's majority of the one, I guarantee you, and I haven't even done the research, but I guarantee if you want to do the research, and if it comes up different, let me know, that majority of the children keep it inside. Or when they do act out, and finally there's a burst, then they're acting out, but still not specifically pointing out the details of what I'm feeling.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
so true. It is so true. You see all types, and I'll give a short story if you don't mind, of
Oh,
a
please.
student that
Yes.
recently, um, we had to intervene or have an intervention. He was very upset, and the reason being he was upset was because we thought he was just having this moment, but when we finally talked to him, his mother is addicted to drugs, and
Mm.
on the way to school, he saw her on the corner.
Oh, wow.
He
Oh,
hasn't seen her in a long time,
oh, wow.
but
Yeah.
he saw his mother on the corner on the way to school. So
Hmm.
he's all over the place, right? And
Yes.
he doesn't know how to say, one, I miss my mom. But when we talked, that's what came up.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
love my mom. I'm mad at my mom.
Yes.
Why
Yes.
did she let that happen? We didn't know any of this until that moment. But if
Hmm.
we'd have just looked at the situation and the behavior, just
Yes.
another boy acting out, got it out. He just,
See. Hmm.
so we have to just, be mindful that children go through things and children are trying to figure it all out, just like adults. Sometimes I can't figure it all out,
Right.
but they're trying to figure it all out as
Right.
well. And there's some heavy things that they deal with. So yes, ma'am.
Hmm. So this has been really good. I'm actually thinking about things about my own self. But I mean, again, I'm an adult. And so
Right.
I've learned um, to get it out. And I go to places that are safe to get it out. And
Huge. Yes.
yeah, that
I
I
love
know
that.
that someone's going to be just praying with me, like we talked about, the dialogue
Yes.
goes back and forth. But this child, so I hope that this is a sound of an alarm to everyone that's listening, to look a little bit deeper, listen a little bit more, have
Hmm.
conversations, and do quick intervention to
Hmm.
get that child to the doctor.
Hmm.
And yes, be aware, if there's anybody else you can talk to. We have some friends that are a counselor, or to say, hey, the doctor prescribe this, because sometimes doctors will prescribe medication, so you need to be an advocate that may not be what's necessary. It may be, and then it may not be, because sometimes you can have a doctor that just wants to medicate. So you need to be an advocate and says, no, we need to get to the
Absolutely.
problem. You have
Absolutely.
that right to be able to do that. And most of you all know that I teach communications to medical students by way of using the form of the arts. So I'm not just saying this, I'm saying what I know, because this is what we're teaching them. Lots of times we want them to learn to refer out, not to try to do something outside of your scope. So you can be an advocate to say, no, I don't want to try medication. I would like to be referred out to counseling. And then go from there to see if that particular counselor is going to work. You also can advocate. You don't have to say, I can only go to this one. No, get on the phone, get on the computer, find
Yes.
out something,
Yes.
talk to somebody, check around in your church. Somebody might be a counselor and you not know it,
Hmm.
or maybe you do know it, and maybe it's not that you want, maybe even someone in the church, you may not want someone to know, or in your circle of friends. But if you can find out some information, then you can be able to do some searching for yourself. Because I know how sometimes it can be. You're like, I love my church, or I love my family, or I love my neighbors, but I really don't want anybody to know, you know what I mean? Or to even be treated by them. So
Hmm.
maybe you do, maybe you don't. But it's good to get information so that you can be able to know what to do to intervene. Because to me, this is called what I call lights and sirens. Like when you see an ambulance and the lights are going off
Hmm.
and the sirens is going on, it's like, okay, everybody needs to pull over.
I love that.
Yeah, because it's emergency. You don't want that child to grow up and not know what to do with this emotion that will grow, and that will get bigger, and that will get bigger, and that will get bigger. And lots of times, by the time we get to the nitty gritty of what's going on, they've been dealing with this since 5, and now they're 55. So we want to sound the alarm. We want to toot the horn. Please be aware of your child's behavior. Talk to your child. You know what? My auntie used to say all the time. She says, you can't be too busy, Regina. You
Hmm.
can't
Hmm.
be too busy. You might say, well, I'm a single parent. I work 2 jobs. while you're at the dinner table, while you're fixing that sandwich, maybe for dinner, maybe, you know, you didn't have time to fix a full meal and you're fixing a sandwich. Okay. You're fixing a sandwich. Let's talk. Hey, babe, you know, you want to come help me fix a sandwich? That's dialogue together.
Mhm.
You know, maybe I don't want to. Oh, why? What happened today? How you doing? You're already talking while you're fixing the sandwich. Now you're going to the table, especially if you fix his favorite sandwich or peanut butter jelly, whatever that it is, or spaghetti, whatever you're going to eat.
Mhm.
You can have dialogue then. You know what I mean? You got to get ready for bed. That child's got to brush their teeth. That child's got to get prepared. You know, whether they take a shower or brush their teeth or get washed up, it's got to be some dialogue. Okay, we're getting ready to come in your room and say our prayers. Hey, how did it go today? Just sitting on the edge of the bed.
Mhm.
You know, so we have to, we got to do that. We got to do that. And you live and you learn, you know,
Absolutely.
you live and you learn. So it's time to stop and slow down our worlds and see about our children so that we can help them with this social, emotional disorder or learning or
Yeah.
what, or whatever.
Learning.
Yeah,
So,
learning. Yeah, learning to deal with this emotion, and the
yeah,
parent
absolutely.
learning to deal with this emotion too, because it's not easy once you get in that river with them to swim, and it can also affect you too. So then that means that you'll need some help too in order to know what to do, and that's okay. It's time for intervention and not to ignore.
Love it.
No, not to ignore, because ignore can mean their life later on down the road.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
love it.
So we got to talk, y'all. We got to talk. We got to talk. We got to find out what's going on. Anything else?
Yes. Really quick, another component of
Sure.
that is if, you know, your child, you know, as a teenager doesn't want to talk that much, here's just an idea. You can get a notebook, a journal, or something like that, and write them a message, slide it under the door. You guys can come up with a place that is kept, write the message. They can take it, respond to your message, and put it in the same place. And this could be a way of communicating, or, you know, so they don't feel the pressure of sitting down and talking. They can express it. So you can have a mommy and me journal, things like color me a picture of how you're feeling today in the journal. And these are, you know, references of what's going on as well. I've shared with you, and the last thing, I promise, the last thing I
Oh
shared
no,
with
keep
you.
talking. If you have anything to say, this is your moment.
I shared with you, and I'm feeling led to say this. So I shared with you about when a student is having a behavior or really upset. And one of the things that I say to them is, if that emotion is too big for you, can I hold it for you for a minute? Can I take that from you for a minute? And so for the little babies, it works great for them. They're like, and they'll hand me, you know, they will do this gesture of me taking on that emotion for them. But I want to reiterate that to parents, that if that emotion of parenting is too much, if stress of dealing with the day-to-day work, you know, fixing dinner, money issues, all of that is too much, please know that you can hand that over by speaking to someone or finding that prayer partner or talking to a therapist for yourself. You don't have to carry those things by yourself, especially if you're dealing with a child who may have some behavioral issues or who may be struggling in school. You can also find a safe place for you to exhale and for you to deal with that as well.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And the preacher of me wants to say, you can also give it to God too, you know.
Yes.
You
Amen.
can carry it to him.
Amen. Amen.
He says, cast your cares to him, for he cares. So
he cares. Yeah, because it's too much for us at times. No.
absolutely.
Amen. Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen. Wow.
Absolutely.
As my goddaughter would say, ain't that it? You know, because we're human. We can only deal with so much, you know. And on that note, if you don't know Jesus as your personal savior,
yes,
ask him to come in. Because as the song say, in times like these, we need a savior because there's so much going on. You know, I'm telling you, as a child, and this is, I just thought about this, praise God. As a child, I raged. I raged, I fought, and I love to
Mm.
fight guys. And I beat
Mm.
them too. I would,
Okay.
I could take them. I wanted to challenge
Mm.
because of something that happened in my life when I was a child. And so I raged. I got suspended from school. I don't even know how I survived. And then I got back in school. It was crazy. My life was crazy. So I just thought about this while we're talking. And it took
Mm.
Jesus Christ to get a hold of me because I love to fight. I would try to pick a fight. And if you're supposed to be able to throw it down like that, then okay, then it's on.
What, Miss Parks?
Yeah, it was, and she didn't know this, y'all. She didn't know this, but I was an angry child. I was angry. I remember when I came in late to class and a teacher yelled at me. I said, "You don't yell at me." And so if anybody has any nice, sweet images about me, they're gone now. Because I'm going to tell you,
No.
I jumped up on a table and I took my fist and I hit her in the face and I got put out of class.
Wow.
But you know what? I'm just thinking about this right now as you're talking, because when we talked about doing this, I never related to the things that was happening to me. So I didn't
Mm.
have anybody in my life that, when you get suspended from school, you're going to get a whipping. And so I got a whipping, you got put on a punishment or whatever that was, whatever sometimes a whooping, sometimes a punishment, couldn't go outside, couldn't do extra activities. But that rage was still in me for a
Mhm.
long time,
Mhm.
for a long time. And it was actually Jesus Christ coming into my life, helping me to recognize what I was angry about and started
Yes.
chiseling through the Spirit of God,
Yes.
the Word of God, to help me to forgive God, to forgive God. So I know that a lot of
Wow.
people will be listening to this. And I just want to be honest, because I just thought about this just now in the moment. So when
Mm.
I tell people that, they're like, not you. You know what I mean? But I did. I was just raging on the inside. And it was just God's mercy that something didn't happen to me. Because back then, I'm
Mhm.
60, you get suspended for school and you got to, when your day's over, you got to come back, talk to the principal, get a working plan, all that. Now they just come and lock you up. So I'm grateful that I wasn't in that time. But I'm like,
Right. Right.
now, yeah, because I would have been locked up because I didn't, and whoever came, you just came. I was struggled that they have the security come and I'm like, I'm sorry, don't nobody touch me. Get your hands off of me.
Mhm.
And I mean, I'm just yelling and carrying on and going on. And I'm just now thinking about this while we're talking. I dealt with that.
Wow.
So, whoever's listening to this, you got to get to the kids. That was just God's mercy and grace, in the time.
Mhm.
So now we're living in a different time where they just go ahead and take your child to jail. So you got to, or label your child. So
Absolutely.
protect your child, get your child the help that they need
Absolutely.
right now,
Absolutely.
and make sure that you're in contact with God yourself as well. I got to promote Jesus Christ. I'm a Christian. And so, that's all I can say. You can, not anything condescending. You may not be a believer. You may be a believer. So I have to put it out there because it's our job. It's Lenisha's job as a minister. We've got to offer you Jesus Christ because
Absolutely.
so much is going on. We need a savior. Like the song says, in times like these, we need
Yes.
an anchor. Be very sure. Be very sure your anchor holds and grips a solid rock. So you need to
Yes.
have that balance of Christ. You need to have that balance of working with healthcare and finding out, doing everything that's necessary to make sure your child is healthy and
Yes.
learn how to express.
Yes.
I'm getting it now, learning how
Yes.
to be able to do it in a healthy way.
Yes.
And recognize this feeling and what to do to be able to master this, not let the feeling take over, but that you become in control and not the
Absolutely.
feeling. I think I got it.
You got it. You got
Okay.
it. That mastering the emotion or the emotion will master you. So, and listen, it will take you and will master, you will become a slave to that emotion for
Come
your
on
whole
now.
life.
Jesus.
And that will be your identity. If we don't fix it, it will become your identity. So rage, if the Lord didn't come in, that would be your identity,
Right.
And so,
Jesus.
yeah, we got to.
Yeah, because I had a reputation. I did. And I know you can
Unbelievable to me,
because I
though.
don't think we've ever talked about that.
No, so this is unbelievable to me. I'm like, I don't even.
Right. But it's so true. I
Mm.
mean, wowee, it's so true. And that's how I lived. I lived in rage because I was so angry because it was just my mom and so many
Mhm.
things about my dad and just,
Mhm.
and I wanted a house like everybody else and two parents to, and I never expressed that. See, that was my rage was my expression. So I'm really understanding now. I think God has taken me there this moment so that I can understand, because that is what exactly was going on with me. So I was angry
Mm.
about I only got one parent. My mother got to work two jobs. When I get up, she's gone. When I come home, she's gone because she works two jobs. And
Mhm.
and things were rough, and
Mhm.
my mom and my dad are both now deceased. And things were rough. Sometimes the heat was off in the wintertime and you're sleeping in clothes and you're, breathing and you can see your breath in the house. And
Wow.
sometimes, just
Wow.
lights was off. So sometimes there wasn't food and you got to go to school. And so I was raging, and that's no one knew that. No one knew that. And I didn't know what to do with that. So I believe the
Mhm.
Lord has allowed me to revisit this so I can understand exactly everything that you're saying. And so again, my deliverance was Jesus Christ, and I didn't know that was going to happen. I just happened to
Mm.
be at a Bible teaching church that hit on all those different things and where that is really coming from on the inside, deep down inside of you, and then what can you do about it and to recognize it. And then as the years would go by, I began to heal. I began to have the tools, as I call it, the toolbox, to know how to work. And God works in
Yes.
many ways. I didn't have to see a physician or a counselor. God chose to let me get that counseling through the word and counseling coming over the pulpit,
Mhm.
and uh, however, God also works with the doctors, and maybe
Absolutely.
maybe your child does have to be on medication. I don't know. I would say check it out and make sure you're involved in that. Sometimes children do, to help them, or sometimes just to
Absolutely.
maybe help them all their lives, or maybe just help them just a little while,
Right.
So
Right.
I think we shouldn't ignore whatever. Just make sure you're involved, about it, you're aware about it. Don't let somebody just give your child something. Find out about it, find out the side effects about it, talk to somebody, because God will always make people available for you to find out information
Mhm.
so you can be
Mhm.
involved. But also don't be afraid of whatever care your child may need to get to wholeness.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because actually I got married and still was dealing with that. So I didn't it wasn't in my teen life. It's like I got married, and I remember one time when this was going off, I was like, what is going on? I'm just going raging. And
Mhm.
then he said, what happened? See, no one's ever asked me that. This is for me. I don't know about y'all, but I'm gonna get my piece right now. He said,
Yes.
this is amazing. This is happening right here, because I'm getting ready to just give God the praise. Because he said, what happened? Because I was just raging, and he held me. He didn't abuse me. He held me and said, what's wrong? And I'm like, I
Mhm.
don't know. And that was the first time anybody ever asked me. And I'm married and a mama. And a
Mhm.
mama. And so he started asking me, and then I told him about my past. And then healing began. So
Absolutely.
the child, I'm understanding this now, has to recognize. They don't recognize, they don't know what's going on. And so you have an obligation to help them to find out what's going on. And I
I
begin
love that
wholeness.
I'm
Wow.
sorry. I'm
That's okay.
sorry.
I'm just realizing this is for
I
me.
love that I love that you said that, because when I do trainings, I always tell teachers, you don't want to ask the question, what's wrong with you? You want to say, what happened? We
Mhm.
say, what's wrong? What's wrong with that kid? Why does he do all that? No, what happened? Because what we see is the fruit of a tree. We don't see the roots when they come in. We don't see that. So we don't know what's happening at home and why they're already elevated and not regulated when they walk in the door, because perhaps mom was yelling at them or dad and them were arguing before they got there. So we
Wow.
see the fruit of that.
Yeah.
And we can't judge that fruit. We can't because we don't know what the root of it is. And it's until you talk to the
Yeah.
student, until you get to
Yeah.
know and have that
Yeah.
rapport, like you're saying, dialoguing,
Yeah.
that we can
Good.
get to that root
Yeah.
to see what's going on. So this is amazing,
It
Mrs.
is
Marks. This is
amazing.
amazing.
Amazing, because I revisit a place and I praise God for it. I felt joy about it, but I'm like, wow, I didn't know I was going to go there, because we've been talking about this and I never revisited it
Mhm.
right now. And so I'm very grateful.
Awesome. This has been
Wow,
awesome.
that is awesome. So I would like to do a part 2 with adults.
Love it. Oh, I would love
Yeah.
that.
So we're going to reschedule a part 2. You all, Lenisha, do you have anything else that you want to add before we get ready to end this powerful discussion?
Just thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to voice this. I have been an advocate and I am talking about this everywhere I go.
Yeah.
So thank you for giving me a platform to
Oh,
do so. Thank you so much.
thank you for being here. Thank you. I'm excited. I'm just, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I'm just realizing where God brought me from. And then I just know that our prayer is that someone has been awakened, someone has been alert,
Yes.
their eyes have
Yes.
come open, their ears have come open, and they realize, okay, I got to do something,
Yes.
and it's okay if you got to do something. It's a marvelous thing to get your eyes open and again, not put Ichabod over someone's head to say, okay, we got to get them to wholeness. We got to see what we can do to help this child get
Yes.
through whatever that they're going through. So
Yes.
thank you again, Lenisha. Look forward for our part 2. Everybody,
Absolutely.
thank you for being on Regina's Corner. Don't forget to hit the bell, hit like, subscribe. I don't know what else to tell, but I'm gonna say it again. Subscribe, hit like, hit the bell, and comment. Please comment. And if you comment about something, I'll make sure Lenisha will see that and she can be able to answer your questions and concerns that you have within her scope. And whatever else she would like to share with you. Again, we'll see you on Regina's Corner. Thank you.
Good night.